Hello everyone. This is the entire integration description for Dynamics AX and Magento. And now regarding the versions that we support for Microsoft Dynamics AX is 2009 and 2012 R2 and R3. Now coming back to the cycle or integration points that we developed, starting from customer sync. New customers can be created from Magento and sync back and forth to AX. Then product, and we can update the price for that particular item from AX to Magento, and we can update the stock or adjust the inventory from AX to Magento. We can create or place the web order and convert into sales order from Magento to AX, and we can fulfill the order cycle. So there would be order fulfillment cycle completed from AX to Magento. So these are the integration points that I will be showcasing over this particular demonstration. Now coming back to APPSeCONNECT, which is an intermediate application or platform that resides on your server, and it helps to trigger the entire data get exchanged in between AX and Magento. APPSeCONNECT is a hybrid integration platform. It's an iPaaS solution. Therefore, it is completely flexible to understand the business requirements and build up the integration based on those requirements. And we can connect various applications starting from e-commerce, ERP, CRM, flat files, and it's a generic platform. So the applications which are listed on our website, those applications can be performed. Other than that, if someone come up with a new requirement, those things can also be done using APPSeCONNECT. And it has got two important components. One is Cloud Portal and another is APPSeCONNECT Agent. So Cloud Portal is something where we can build up the business logic and we can perform the attribute mappings or value mappings. And now coming back to APPSeCONNECT Agent, where we generally do the entire data synchronization part. We download the entire business configuration from cloud, and through our update configuration option we can list down those exchanged or those performed download configurations over this sync panel, and we can exchange or we can help in exchange the data integration points. Now coming back to the cycle, that the first cycle is customer. So for AX and Magento, from Magento we can create new registered customers and we can sync those registered customers from Magento to AX. Including that, based on the guest customer requirements, those details can be synced back to AX against a default customer code. Now I am just quickly going to create a new customer in Magento. So for that, I'm going into the Magento demo store. We have a demo Magento store which is connected with AX demo database company through APPSeCONNECT. And here I am going to create a new customer. So I'll provide the basic customer details, and then I'll sync that particular customer details back to AX. So here would be the customer basic contact information that includes email ID, the first name, last name, and password. So once I'm done with creating the account for this customer, I'll quickly add the billing and shipping details. So for that, I'm quickly going into the address book and add the address details of that particular customer. So this customer details have been saved from here, and we support Bi-Directional Sync. So the customers which registered from your front-end store of Magento, those details can be synced back to AX, and including that, if in AX anyone maintains existing customer details, then those details can be exchanged from AX to Magento as well. And since it's a bidirectional sync, so it whether for customer, whether for products, based on the business requirement or based on the customer needs, we can perform the data integration point. So now for this particular customer which has been created from the Magento store, I'm quickly going into this particular sync panel. Sync panel is something where we can find out how many data integration points are there, and these data integration points will be synchronized from which particular direction. Either it would be synced from AX to Magento, or in another way it would be synced from Magento to AX. And for this continuous or complete demo, I am going to use Magento 2.x and Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 R3 version. Now you can find out customer add, and these two individual triggers, manual trigger, and if I swap it, you can find out automatic trigger. Now I quickly let you know what are the functions of this two trigger. Manual trigger means manually you are able to synchronize the data integration points in between your choosable application. But if you select automatic trigger, then definitely there would be a background process running. So you have got a scheduler watcher option through which you can trigger the interval time period, like after how many interval you are able to synchronize your data. So the fastest is 1 minute, but you can definitely increase based on your business needs. Now coming back to the integration point customer, if I open that Resync panel, the name of this panel is Resync Panel, where you can find out the data has been pushed successfully or not. If it has been pushed successfully, then there would be a success status showing, and if somehow any kind of error is occurring, then instead of this success status you will find out an error status. So that's the function of the Resync panel. And we have got this transaction logs as well. This panel helps you to understand if any kind of error is occurring, then what is the exact reason of that error, why the data is not successfully pushed, and you can find out the exact reason from this transactional log. Now once this customer has been successfully pushed, I'll quickly going into the AX customer section and just quickly find out with the customer name. So this is the customer I created, Robert Steve, from Magento frontend store, and I'll quickly open this customer, and the customer account number is C152. That's the customer code. Now you can find out these are the details under the contact tab and the address tab. These are the details that we provided on our Magento store, and these are the details that have been synchronized back to our AX store. Now coming back to additional field mappings, like we are completely flexible in adding custom field mappings as well. So instead of doing this, if someone has a new requirement and they want to map some new fields, then based on that we can map those fields as well. So this field mappings can be done by APPSeCONNECT Cloud Portal, where we can associate or we can allocate a new field, and based on that particular field we can map and we can complete the integration. So any kind of additional fields, any kind of additional details, if someone maintains either on the Magento or on the AX account or AX environment, those things can be mapped by APPSeCONNECT. Now coming back to the next process, and before that, for customer we got many requirements based on that. If instead of manual trigger, if there is an automatic trigger running, then how this works. So for that, what we do, we have just swap the option automatic trigger, and from this agent we have got this scheduler watcher through which the current limit has been set, and from the portal we have got this exact option through which we can configure the interval time period. We can set it, let's say, for 1 minute, then after 1 minute all your data will get exchanged. You do not need to manually open it. So that's the function of automatic trigger. And for customer, instead of registering new customers from Magento store, if someone opts for guest customers, then what is the entire function occurring by APPSeCONNECT? So for that purpose, what we do, we synchronize the guest customer details, and in AX against a default customer code, the entire information is present. And then someone has a new requirement that if they update, if they modify few details, and how they differentiate between active and non-active customers. So like for modification, for any kind of update for the customer, let's say they modify their email ID, they modify their address details, for that part what we do, we have got a different integration point, and that is customer add. So customer add, or you can say customer update. Using that integration point, all the update details, all the modification can be done properly. So we have got that data integration point available too using APPSeCONNECT. And now coming back to the flag or active inactive customers. So sometimes they got a requirement that let's say they have 80 customers present, and they only want that a particular 50 to 60 customers would be showing on their Magento front end, or that customers would be synced back to AX. For that we are going to use a flag, and under that flag we put up that logic that using that flag only 50 active customers will be synced back to AX, and so there would be a flag check active or inactive, and those customers are inactive, that won't get synced back to this platforms. So these are a couple of things that can be manageable using APPSeCONNECT. Now coming back to the next integration point, and that is item. So item, we are going to synchronize the items from Magento to AX, but similarly it is bidirectional sync. If anyone maintains their items on the AX side, either on release products or product masters, then those information can be synced from AX to Magento as well. And so now I'm just quickly going to create a new item from Magento. So proper catalogs, proper tax classes, or you can say the attributes, those things can be properly manageable using APPSeCONNECT. So the main point is, if those fields are available on AX and Magento, then we can definitely map those fields, and we can make sure those fields will be present on your or exchanged on in between your two platforms as well. Now here I'm just quickly going to mention an item name. So let's say that's the item, and I'm going to mention the SQ of that item 234. You just mention the unit price, and here you can select the category as well. Now under the content tab you can provide the description of that product. So I can provide the description, long and short description, and I can save this item. So that's some of the default details that I can provide for this particular item, and those default details we have mapped, and those things can be synced back to your AX store. So we have got this integration point, simple product add, through which you can find out that all your data will get pushed. So that's the Resync panel, and that's the errors, and that's the success status you can find out with the proper item code. Now there are two options through which you can find out the products. Okay, so now you can find out that this item is there on the release product section, and if I open this particular item, you can find out the entire product code, and the item name and the item description is there. So this is the long description which I provided on my Magento store, and this is the short description. Now under the sale tab you can find out the unit price of this particular item, and weight is a mandatory field in AX, so you can find out that the weight is also there. That's the net weight. So now apart from that, if any kind of extra details with regards to the categories, with regards to the attributes customer maintains either on AX or on Magento side, those things can be done or can be synced in between these two platforms. And now coming back to the products, those are present on AX. So if they are gonna maintain the items from their ERP side, and they're gonna put the attributes or the tax classes, so the question is something that we face from our customer is how we maintain items with their variants in case of APPSeCONNECT in between AX and Magento. So now for that, what we do, we can maintain those item variants on AX on the variant side, or first of all we need to know that from which particular option the customer are going to maintain their items. So now once we know that from this particular option the items with their variants, so let's say a t-shirt has multiple colors, it has got multiple sizes, so red, green, blue, and multiple sizes, let's say small, medium, large, and so based on that we need to assign the variants on AX where the customer maintains. If we get to know which category, under which category they want to allocate that item, for that we are going to allocate the items under that specific category. So once this entire allocation would be done from AX with regards to the item categories, with regards to the item variants where the customer maintains, we can sync those items from AX to Magento. We need to allocate it on a different UDF, and based on that UDF following a separate naming convention, we can synchronize those details. And now coming back to images, so these are the questions that we face, that how we maintain images. So for images, basically the standard practice is like when you synchronize the items would be listed on your Magento store. Now the best practice or the industry practice is to directly maintain the images from the e-commerce website, not to synchronize those images from ERP to e-commerce, because in your ERP site, first of all we need to know where you are going to maintain your images, whether it would be stored under a specific naming folder with having a specific naming convention, or it would be under the images. Now for ERP side, there is no specific option to synchronize the HD images from AX to Magento, or any kind of from ERP to e-commerce. So it will take, or it will kill your bandwidth, and including that the entire images folder synchronization from AX to Magento would be hectic. So instead of doing that, we always suggest our customers to directly maintain those HD images directly from their e-commerce website. That would be the best practice. We can sync images, but it can like together it can kill your bandwidth, and then you can't maintain HD images on your ERP side. So better we do this directly from the e-commerce website. Now once this item process would be done, this is a bi-directional process. From Magento to AX it can be done, from AX to Magento it can be done. Now for price, so you can allocate a new price. So for that you need to going into the manage cost section, item price, and you can provide the version name, that's the mandatory field, and you need to activate the price. So I'm going to activate it, and it would be listed under the active prices section. So that's the thing through which you can maintain the item price, and we can sync that price details from AX to Magento as well. And apart from that, like if you maintain any price list on your AX site, then based on that price list we can take that unit price and we can sync that price from AX to Magento. Now the next process, which is stock. So for stock, there would be a few steps that we are going to follow over here. So first is we have to create a purchase order in the time of adjusting the inventory. So I'm going into the purchase order section, and the required steps I need to follow, that I need to select the vendor code, vendor name, and the site and warehouse of it. And once this has been done, the order line details will be, the pop-up will get open, and here I am going to search with the item name against which I want to associate the stock. So that's the item name, and now I'll quickly provide the quantity for it. So let's say I'll mention 900 quantity. You can mention the unit price as well. So let's say $400 I'll provide over here, and the entire information has been saved. So now if I just refresh the page, you can find out the approval status is approved and still it's an open order. So approved means that once the purchase order has been created, vendor has to go through an approval process, and after the vendor has agreed or confirmed the order, the purchase order is set to a status as confirmed. So for that I need to open this approved purchase order, and I need to going into the purchase tab. So once I going into the purchase tab, I can find out this confirmation option to confirm this purchase order. So once I'm done, I'll quickly going into the product receipt section, and that's under the receive option, and here you need to provide a unique product receipt number. So let's say I'm going to provide this number over here, and if I quickly save it and if I quickly refresh this, you can find out the approval status is confirmed. So confirmed, and the status is received. So when the item is received status, that means the transactions are based on the cost of the items that are recorded in the purchase order line and that are generated in the product receipt section. So when this inventory adjustment has been done, you can check by going into your particular item that whether the inventory amount has been updated or not. So if I open this particular item, you can find out on the manage inventory and on hand inventory section that having the particular site and warehouse code, the physical inventory has been adjusted. So these are the details that already placed from AX. Now if I open the APPSeCONNECT agent, there would be the option to update your inventory through inventory update. Now in case of doing this in manually or manual trigger, you can do this automatically as well, or rather using automatic trigger, and there would be an interval time period you can set for 1 minute or 2 minutes, and automatically every time you are going to adjust your inventory or every time you are going to adjust your stock, those can be done. So in this way you can provide the inventory status. Now so you can open this Resync panel and you can find out the details that has been pushed successfully. If I going into my Magento for this particular item, you can find out that that item along with the quantity has been synced successfully. Now we can take the cumulative warehouse, and based on the warehouse we can map the inventory as well. So these things can be done based on the customer requirement, and therefore we have a workflow. We have a workflow feature already present on our website, and using that workflow you can graphically represent the structure of your data, like whether you want to push the information and you want to create a graphical structure of your data for customer item, if any kind of extra rule, if any kind of extra the logic you want to provide, any kind of extra business structure you want to maintain, those things can be done using our workflow. Now for order, so if I just going into my Magento front-end store, I can select the item for which I want to place the order. I can select the item to cart, and now tax and freight. So these are the two important things that can be done by APPSeCONNECT, tax and freight code. So based on the customer requirement, right now I'm going to use the flat rate fixed shipping method, but it does not mean that it's always the same. So it can be configurable based on the customer need, whether they want country based tax code mapping, whether they want any kind of USCA or a free shipping or flat rate based on some particular amount. So those tax and freight code can be properly adjusted using the field mapping or value mapping section. So these things can be done using APPSeCONNECT. Similarly, for payment, we are completely flexible online offline payment method both. So if a customer opts for the online payment method, those things can be adjusted. So in Magento there are multiple payment methods option, so those things can be adjusted in between Magento and AX. So if I place the order has been placed from Magento front-end store, and this has been placed against a registered customer. Now many times we got a requirement that if it's guest customers, probably customers just came into your website and they just select one item and they just place the order. That kind of situation, how APPSeCONNECT manage? So for APPSeCONNECT, you can definitely sync the orders against a guest customer. What we do in AX, we synchronize the order details against a default customer code. So these things can be supported by APPSeCONNECT. Now if I came back to this particular APPSeCONNECT agent, there would be a process name known as sales order add. So those things can be done using this particular integration point. You can find out that if it's successfully pushed or not, and to check that you can going into the sales order section. So if I open the sales order, and there would be the order number DAT 000532. So if I click that 000532, okay, so you can find out the details are already present. So that would be the sales order header, the customer information and the item information. And now if you want to check the the freight, so you can definitely going into the sale option, and if you open the charges, you can find out the flat rate fixed which we mapped, that is already there. Now if I already said that we can properly manage tax and freight code method using APPSeCONNECT, whatever tax and freight you want to map, those can be adjusted properly. Now coming back to the next fulfillment process, for that we can going into the pick and pack section, and we can create a packing slip from AX. So once we do that, I just quickly create the delivery. So the delivery has been created and the status has been updated to delivered. So if right now it's an open order, but if I refresh it, the status has been changed to delivered. So now if you maintain any tracking ID, then that tracking ID can be synced back from AX to Magento. Customer can track their shipment status or shipment detail. So now that would be the data integration point, and if I open that data integration point, you can find out that the status has been shown successfully. So for Magento also, if from the front end, if I going into the view order section, the status is processing. So that means the order has been completed and the delivery has been completed, and you can find out the order shipment details as well. Coming back to the invoice, when you create the invoice from AX, those invoice details can be changed and the status can be changed as completed. Okay, so now first of all we need to understand the requirements, and since it's a generic platform, we have got the workflow functionality, we have got the field mappings. So any kind of requirements when we get to know from the customer, those things can be easily adjustable. And now item linking, sometimes we get to know that instead of synchronizing the items, someone wants to link the items for few particular selected products. So item link can be possible using APPSeCONNECT, and we have got individual flags for orders, for items, for customers, and using that flags we can remove the duplicate check, or we can remove the duplicate orders or duplicate customers or duplicate products. And it's a bidirectional synchronization process, so any kind of processes, if they want bidirectionally, it can be done. And we have got the update functionality as well. So if customer wants any kind of modification, if any kind of modification they want in their item section, those things can be easily adjustable. So that's the standard cycle that we follow in case of Magento and AX. If you have any kind of requirements further, you can directly contact with us. Thank you.